Live on GBC News, it's time for news. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the news. I'm Siyoko Kwakutre. A total of 571,894 candidates from 18,028 schools are sitting for this year's Basic Education Certificate Examination (BEC) across the country, which began today. The 5-day examination will be written in 2,158 centers under the supervision of 2,158 supervisors and 1,853 assistant supervisors. We bring a breakdown of the number of students taking part in the exams.
187,605 of the candidates are males, while the remaining 284,289 are females, with the Ashanti region presenting the largest number of candidates of 111,432, followed by Greater Accra region with 105,539 candidates. Central region has 63,727 candidates, while a combined force of Western and Western North regions presented 58,316 candidates. The Eastern region presented 55,930 candidates. 53,265 candidates were from the Bono, Ahafo and Bono East regions together. The Northern, Northeast and Savannah together have 44,838 candidates, while the Volta and Uti regions presented 42,093 candidates. The Upper East and Upper West regions accounted for 22,116 and 14,638 candidates respectively. The head of Public Affairs of the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, Mrs. Agnes Tekujo, disclosed that the Greater Accra, Upper East and Upper West regions presented more female candidates than males. The Greater Accra region presented 50,815 males and 54,824 females, while the Upper East region presented 10,586 males and 11,530 females, and the Upper West had 7,290 males and 7,348 females. While wishing the candidates all the best in the examination, Mrs. Tekujo reminds them to stay away from any examination malpractice, since that could jeopardize their future. She says the WAEC, together with its partners, have put in place security measures to check examination malpractices, stressing that candidates who fall foul will be dealt with. Mrs. Tekujo also reminds invigilators and supervisors, as well as the security officials deployed to all the examination centers, to play their respective roles professionally and not allow themselves to be compromised. In a related development, the Minister of Education, Dr. Yaw Oseduchum, on behalf of his ministry, has extended his best wishes to all the candidates who are writing the exams.
Free and fair examinations are the collective obligation of both the WAEC, teachers, parents and all other stakeholders in the sector. These are the words of the head of public affairs at the West African Examination Council, Mrs. Agnes Tekujo. She made the statement on Monday at the agency's head office in Accra when GBC News visited the place to observe the dispatch processes of examination questions and answer booklets to the various examination centers where the Basic Education Certificate Examination (BECE) are taking place in the Greater Accra region. Our reporter Nyaku Abranoma Walker, student for GBC News, and joins us in the studio. Hello, Walker.
Yeah.
You're back from your trip to the various centers. Tell me, what was your observation at the WAEC depot?
All right, thank you So we went to the White Head Office, and what we saw, I think the whole thing is to tell the public the level of security at the place, okay, at the head office, and also kind of when they are distributing the materials or education materials. And because of that, we want the public to know, recently or previously we used to hear some examination malpractices and also paper leakages. So this one, they wanted to show to the public that there's a level of security over there that no one will be able to tamper with the materials. And you could find there's a bag, there's a padlock. They put the materials in them. There's a padlock and also a seal to that effect, and so that at least if there's any problem later on and they want to follow up, maybe auditors will be able to find out or be able to trace to which paper was able to leak or something like that. So it was, the security presence also.
So it's the first time that you saw everything clearly.
Yeah.
A sealed bag which has been locked with a padlock too.
Yes.
All right then, so that in recent times we've been talking about examination leakages. What has Mike been saying about this? Did you speak to anybody on this particular issue?
Yes, so Madam or Mrs. Agnes
Tekujo
assured that this time is not going to happen, and moreover she called on stakeholders, for example, teachers, the students themselves, parents, as we just spoke about. That it's not the responsibility, or the responsibility do not rely on the WAEC only.
All the various stakeholders
come together to ensure that we have free examinations. So people should also help in that regard. So it's not only about WAEC. And all the rounds that we went, those that are the officials who are administering, the examination, they are all saying that yes, people are complying and everything is going on smoothly. There's not been any kind of situation where they have to search. They suspect something that they would have to search someone or that, which they've already done.
There's a general composure
yes,
at the various centers that you visited. So can you tell us some of the centers you visited and what was the general mood of the students?
Yeah, we first visited Accra High. We have about 6 schools come together to sit for the exam. So up to about 74 people sat for the exam, but 3 of them didn't show up. For what reason, it's not known yet. Yes. So they are sitting for the exams at Accra High, and everything was okay. When we talk about the COVID protocols, the pupils were seated. They were all in their nose mask. When you look at the environment, they have provided Veronica buckets. They wash their hands, and then also sanitizers available for them.
So the social distancing was in place. So that means they were observing all the COVID-19 health protocols.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
So we went also to St. Francis Xavier School at Ayawaso North. Also, they have about 8 schools sitting for the exams over there, and they all came. There was no kind of someone
no
didn't show up,
absenteeism.
no absenteeism. They all came around. So the municipal officer, that education officer over there, he's the internal auditor for education service in the municipality. Mr. Richard Osei says everything has been smooth, and of course they don't expect anything like examination leakage over there. Everything, they expect that things will go well as it has started. We also came to Accra High, where also the number of students also coming to write. Only one person didn't show up. They are about 600 and it's not told yet, so we don't know. So, but generally everything was okay.
On smoothly. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Walker. And Walker, we hope that you give us a fuller version of the story for our subsequent bulletin. And Walker is my colleague here at GBC News. We also have regional correspondents standing by to give us some observations on the conduct of the ongoing Basic Education Certificate Examination, BCE. Our regional correspondent, Frima Frimpong, joins us now on the phone. Good afternoon, Frima. Hi, Frima.
Hello.
Yeah, Frima, can you speak up a little so that we have a conversation? First of all, can you tell us the atmosphere in the Ashanti region as far as the BEC is concerned?
Good afternoon once again. The Ashanti region, I managed to visit 2 centers, and all the centers, the candidates comported themselves. I first visited T.I. Amar Senior High School. There were 3 centers, centers A, B, and C. And then center A, they had 237 candidates. Center B, they had 240. Center C, 216. All the 3 centers comprise of 8 schools. And then I asked the question distribution officer from the Kumasi Metro office, and he told me that normally for the first day, the papers delay because they sort out schools before they distribute the question papers to the various centers. So they couldn't start at the exact time. So they started around 5 minutes after 9 a.m. And then I went to Kumasi Anglican Senior High School. So the paper takes about 25 minutes. So they started 25 minutes after 9. So when we got there, they had started with the 1. And then the environment was very cool because the students were willing to write the exam. The supervisor there told me that 2 of the ladies, before they entered the exam hall, they had gone off. So that their teachers had to sign them to ask whether they would be able to write the papers or not.
Okay, Frima.
And they said they would.
Okay, Frima, so you with that report, everything went on smoothly with the exception of the late start of the exam. We're waiting for the full story for the 7 p.m. news. But now let's go to the central region, and our correspondent, Kofi Sechiama Pobi, has also joined us. Good afternoon, Sechiama.
Good afternoon, Kofi.
Kofi, what can you tell us about the BEC in the central region?
Well, definitely the central region is also part of the ongoing BC examination. You know, central region is touted as a citadel of education. Yet, at the basic level, some of the people, especially those who are attending the public schools, were not doing all that well. But currently, with support from the Obama and the former regional minister, Amina Duncan, and the current minister, Justina Merigudastan, is putting all efforts in place so that they can improve education at the basic level, which has been one of the few challenges that is confronting the region. Because how can the region have all the schools, yet those at the basic level cannot even have access? But where with the emergence of these free teachers and the school placement system, now people within the public sector schools are even getting schools to the Group A schools that we all know, the Wesley Girls and Franklin. So this morning I started my rounds from the Commander Edina Ebrim area, that's the KEA municipality, where I visited a center, that is the Methodist JHS, around Elmina Fly. There, about 4 schools were there to even for the examination. As an exam I visited, I saw officials of the Ghana Education Service who were there in their numbers from WAEC, and then other stakeholders. Those were the people there doing their monitoring exercises, because we know all that happens when it comes to examination malpractice and what have you. So the monitoring and supervision was very key. They were also urging them and advising them that indeed this is an examination that are bounded by rules and regulations. So they should conduct it well, so that at the end of the day we have people becoming successful in the exams. From there, I moved to the Cape Coast Metropolis. So, if I can run by you, Cape Coast Metropolis have about 3,824 people, writing this year's examination. Out of that figure, 1,864 are boys, whilst 1,960 are girls. So it tells you that definitely the girl child rate is improving. Out of that total, we have 112 centers within the Cape Coast Metropolis where the public schools were represented with 62 schools, and then the private schools are represented with 50 schools. So far, the protocols were being enforced and being ensured. So at the end of the day, everything is moving on smoothly. So we're still keeping up what is happening in the central region, and we keep our viewers posted.
So thank you so much for that report. And so let's move on to the Bono region, and John Sam Arthur is standing by to give us this report. Good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us about some of the centers you have visited so far, and what you observed?
Yes, here in the Bono region, and I'm also talking about Ahafo and Bono East. There are a total of 205 examination centers, and the students that we visited this morning in the Sunyai area, we all managed to start on time. And I was intentionally looking out for pregnant students because I wanted to gauge the directive that no pregnant student should be sacked from the examination hall. But I could not spot any. But I'm just hoping that elsewhere in the 3 regions, there could be some writing the exams without any trouble. But in all, about 53,000 people, students, 53,263 to be precise, are writing the exam in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. And 2,130 invigilators are handling them. And I'm talking about invigilators because the old Bono Ahafo area has the unenviable reputation of a high rate of exam malpractices. And the teachers I spoke to and education officials I've spoken to are all hoping that the education that they have carried out, the sensitization that they have carried out on the candidate will work. And this time around, exam malpractices will be reduced to the very minimum, if not eliminated entirely. So basically here in the Bono and also Bono East and Ahafo regions, the exam started on schedule at most places, and so far so good. Nothing untoward has happened. It's early days yet. We're just hoping that it stays that way.
Children or students take this morning?
Can you say that again?
I'm asking, which paper did the students take this morning or write this morning?
Yeah, this morning it is just a second, social studies and then French. That's what they're having on the first day.
John, and then let's move to the Upper West region, and Swala Abdul Wahab also visited some centers and has come through with this report. Good afternoon, Swala. Contact with Upper West regional correspondent Swala Abdul Wahab to also tell us what he observed at the various centers he visited. Good afternoon, Swala.
This is Michael.
Michael from the Eastern region. Michael, can you tell us the various centers, briefly tell us the various centers you visited and what you observed?
Well, thank you so much. So far, I've visited a few centers in the New Juaben North and South municipalities. So far, I've visited 4 centers. That is Ufrudia sector. Where 313 are writing the exam over there from 10 schools over there. There's 3 absentees over there. About 4 private schools are also writing the examination. The rest are public schools. At Ghana Senior High School, 371 candidates are writing the exam over there from 9 schools. Then with including 2 private schools, they are writing the exam over there with 4 absentees. Now, what I've observed was that all the COVID-19 protocols are being adhered to. I could observe that all the candidates are having hand sanitizers and all those. They are also practicing the social distance. The examination started at exactly 9 a.m. in all the centers that I've visited. So far, they haven't faced any challenges. Everything is going on smoothly. But I must take this opportunity to commend the New Juaben North Municipal Assembly. This year, they provided a bus for the candidates in the secluded areas. So
from Swala Abdul Wahab.
In the Upper West region, there are 12 centers in one municipality, 2 of which are the Wa Methodist School for the Blind and the Wa Senior High School. At the Wa Senior High School, where they have 4 clusters, 6 of the students did not report for the exams. Mr. Suleiman Halim is the supervisor of the Center D.
For here, we have about 240 candidates at Center D. We have 136 for the boys and we have 104 for the girls. We start around 9. And we are writing social studies. Currently, they are writing the paper 2, that's the theory. Then after this, they will write the objectives. We have so far recorded 2 absentees.
The number is 216, comprising 140 boys and then 102 girls. And the percent is 1 middle school for the blind. So there's no absentee. We haven't faced any challenge yet. Everything is going on smoothly.
Barkisu and Makarios are among the hundreds of students that are taking part in this year's BECE at the Wa Methodist Center.
What I expected was there, and the questions were not all that difficult.
We wrote social studies today, and in fact the questions were very good and we were able to answer to our satisfactions.
As for me, the paper is good. I was able to do my best.
The questions covered almost all the topics in the Akiola. If we are not able to cover all the topics in the Akiola, you might not be able to make it.
The students behind me have expressed optimism that the exams will be very good for them. They said today's social studies was not too difficult, and it is their hope that the rest of the papers will be same. Reporting for GBC News, Swala Abdulhaq.
Our reporter Valencia Tete also visited some BEC centers in the capital. Accra joins us in the studio. Welcome back, Valencia. Valencia, tell us which schools or centers which centers did you visit, and can you tell us the general atmosphere, the mood of the students writing the exam, and what did you observe?
Okay, thank you very much. We actually got there at 9:10 a.m. this morning. So we visited 3 schools, 3 centers actually, and the atmosphere was very cool because the students were adhering to the safety protocols, and the educators were also there. But the unfortunate thing we observed was the paper didn't start on time. So the first center we visited was Nima cluster of schools. They started at 9:10 a.m. instead of 9 o'clock as scheduled, but they started at 9:10. This was as a result of the papers they were supposed to bring didn't arrive early, so they had to delay a bit. So they didn't start on time. So we also moved to Accra Experimental Center, which was at Accra New Town. So we also observed that 367 students also registered for the paper, but then for the exams, 4 students were absent, of which we have no reason for their absenteeism. So we also moved to Odoko Salaria cluster of schools. We also realized that they didn't start on time. They were actually 1 hour late, and we realized that they were already seated at 8:30 as scheduled, but then they started at 10 o'clock. So we had the opportunity to speak with the supervisor over there, and he spoke to us. He said the key to the exam questions, that was the sack, was misplaced, was mixed. So they had to go back, the WAEC officials had to go back to the center to be able to get the right key for the
So can we take the sound bites of the person that you spoke with? Okay, so
I'm actually yet to do that story, so okay. I think our viewers should expect that story in the evening at 7 p.m.
Okay. All right then, Valencia, thank you very much for that report. So we'll be waiting for the full story at 7. The 2021 Basic Education Certificate Examination BEC candidates in the secondary school for the deaf in the Western region say the only subject they may find difficult to score higher marks is Information Communication Technology (ICT). This is because there is only one computer in the school's ICT center. The students want equal opportunity to enable them to pass their exams successfully. This came to light when our Western Regional Correspondent Stevenson Agre visited the school to assess the preparation of the students.
The secondary school for the deaf was established on October 4, 1971 as a day school in the Catholic convent at Iskado by Madame Teresa Rue, a citizen of Elmina, with 11 boys and 6 girls from Ketan, Kojokum and Sekendi at the time. The school now has a student population of 344, 158 of whom are girls and 186 boys. The staff strength is 64, made up of 29 teaching staff and 35 non-teaching staff. In 1995, the school was adjudged the best JSS in agriculture in the Shama Ahanta East Metropolis after having invested in a piggery and a vegetable farm. Though the school is well structured, it lacks a modern computer laboratory, which the final year students preparing for the Basic Education Certificate examination say may affect their performance in Information Communication Technology examination.
It's true, we are prepared for the BEC and we learn for us.
At the time GBC News visited the school, teachers were taking the candidates through past questions of various subjects. However, the ICT teacher, Mr. Beziaka, was handicapped as to how to help prepare his students for the ICT paper since the ICT lab has only one computer. The headmistress of the school, Madam Favor Aflakpi, told GBC News that despite the challenges, the school has adopted some strategies to help the students pass the exams. She appealed to the government to establish a senior high, vocational and technical schools for the hearing impaired in the region. The Shama District Chief Executive, Mr. Ebenezer Daze, announced a scholarship package for the students and also promised to help the school get a modern computer laboratory.
The recent UN report on climate change suggests that greenhouse gas emission into the atmosphere is wreaking havoc on the earth and threatening lives, economies, food and health. The report further states that the world is in a climate emergency as global temperatures rise below 2 degrees Celsius. On GBC News Current Affairs program Talking Point on Sunday, panelists discussed the COP26 global call for climate commitment. They called for a national adaptation plan and behavioral change to mitigate the impact of climate change, especially in areas of agriculture, mining, pollution and waste management in the country.
If a country or any entity is able to put in place the right measures, which we call sustainable ways of doing things, then of course we can find a fair balance. I think this is one of the controversies that went of the president's speech at Glasgow that people are criticizing, that he says Ghana would go along and mine our resources, you know, for economic purposes, and then that sort of contradicts the general discourse of cutting down emissions and putting a stop on mining. The reality is, as any country, and as a poor developing country, we cannot afford to ignore the resources that we have. Our development would have to hinge on the level and amount of resources that we have. And what I mean by resources, natural resources. So being it oil, being it bauxite, being it gold, we would have to depend on it to get the requisite funds or resources to support our development agenda.
If you zone Ghana to 3 main belts, so you have maybe the coastal belt, and then you have the middle belt, and then the northern belt. Geographically, the northern belt looks drier in terms of soil moisture. So when it comes to amount of water that is in the soil, because they receive less rainfall in most part of the year, the soil becomes a bit affected for agriculture. Remember, the mainstay of occupation in this part of the country is agriculture and livestock, which is also part of agriculture. It means that there should be conscious effort or interventions by the state to be able to support these people, especially farmers within this area, to build resilience, especially in agriculture, so that when the rains actually don't come, they can be supported with other interventions so that they can stay all year round farming.
It has really been indicated. Water aid, our vision is to ensure that seawater improves sanitation and hygiene is accessible to everyone everywhere by 2030. But that cannot be achieved if we keep on having climate change challenges, in the sense that when communities build latrines and there's flood, those latrines collapse. So when you support community to move away from open defecation in a year, and you go back to the same community in the following year, you go back and you realize that the community have gone back to still defecating opening. So it's not helping us to really achieve our agenda of ensure that everyone everywhere has access to safe water and improve sanitation. And in the area of water, when there's flood especially in the northern part of Ghana where we are working, most of the water bodies get polluted, and we are looking at safe water. So in the actual sense, they have water, but that water is not safe for their health. So it's really not helping us to really achieve the agenda of ensuring that everyone everywhere will have access to safe water by 2030. So that is why we have a lot of interest, and we have a keen interest.
The president of the Volta Region House of Chiefs, Togwe Tepre Hodo, says what the victims of the recent tidal waves in the Volta region need at the moment is support to overcome the immediate challenges rather than politicization of the issue, which he described as tragic. Togbe Tepre-Hodo, who led a delegation from the Regional House of Chiefs to visit the affected communities, appealed to Ghanaians to lend a helping hand to the victims to alleviate their plight.
17 communities in the Ketu South and Keta municipalities and the Amo district were devastated by the recent tidal waves. The National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, estimates that over 4,000 people have been displaced. The delegation from the Volta Regional House of Chiefs visited hard-hit communities such as Jita and Fuveme in the Anglo district, Kejikofe in the Keta municipality, and Agaveji, Salakofe, Amuchino and Adina in the Ketu South municipality to commiserate with the affected people. At Fuveme, an island settlement, the community's basic school had been shut down because their classroom block was ravaged by the tidal waves. The assembly member for the area, Mr. Raphael Agbenavo, disclosed that no relief item from NADMO had reached them. An NGO brought them some items, but that could not cater for all those displaced by the disaster. He therefore appealed for more support.
As a result of this distraction, people are suffering because they are typically fishermen. And so far as the sea is rough, people cannot go to sea anymore. So food to eat is a problem. Not even to talk about where to sleep. Because where to sleep, you can see the structures. They are being destroyed by the tidal wave. So people living here is very pathetic.
At the time the chiefs visited most of the affected communities, majority of the displaced residents had not received their share of the relief items. The delegation expressed worry about the development. The president of the Regional House of Chiefs, Togbe Tepre-Hodo, was not enthused about what he called politicization of the tragic incident.
The level of devastation is such that it has displaced a lot of people. We, as the Volta Regional House of Chiefs, are calling upon government to intervene in this matter. It's about the lives of people, and we would make a humble suggestion that wherever relief can be found to help these people come out from this predicament, we all will be extremely grateful.
Togbe Tepre-Hodo also appealed to government to urgently resume the sea defense project along the coastline of the Volta region to permanently prevent future devastations by tidal waves.
I think it is very critical for us to emphasize the fact that the sea defense wall project has to be kick-started again, because that is the only way these communities can be saved. It's quite obvious. Places where you see the project completed, you don't see that much devastation. Whilst in the areas where there hasn't been any kind of work as far as that project is concerned, you see the level of devastation. So it's obvious.
The delegation includes the Fiagan of Bato, Togbe Patamia Jekle, who is also the vice president of the Volta Regional House of Chiefs. Another member of the delegation was the Fiagan of Tefle, Togbe Nakakpo Dugbaja, and the registrar of the Regional House of Chiefs, Mr. Harry Atipu.
You're watching news live on GBC News and GTV. We're taking a short break. Please stay on. Good afternoon and welcome. Time now for the business segment, and I'm Dorothy Ajumai.
A partner and head of advisory at KPMG, Mr. Andy Akoto, has urged government to invest more borrowed funds into productive sectors of the economy to help mobilize taxes to service the debt. As Finance Minister Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta presents the 2022 budget on Wednesday, the accounting firm believes this will help reduce the country's 335 billion cedi debt and make the levels sustainable.
At the end of the day, when you are borrowed and then invested in the economy, you are supposed to monitor, participants and make sure that we can generate the needed revenues to service this, okay? But it's been the rigor with which we have done that continues to increase our debt profile. And therefore, we seem to have all these plans designed well on paper. But how do we ensure that we close the loopholes? We are going to be able to achieve the right balance. It's making sure that the monies that we borrow goes to the most productive sectors of the economy. The expected effect is to be able to mobilize taxes and other revenues from these sectors in order to be able to put it back to these debt services. But I don't think we are doing very well with that. And that is where the conundrum lies. And if that is going to happen, it depends on how efficiently and effectively that the Ghana Revenue Authority itself is able to look at the loopholes within its own revenue mobilization systems, to close them so that we can realize the benefits from these borrowings.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has denied reports in the media that Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has announced the annulment of the 50% benchmark value on some selected goods imported into the country. According to the purported reports in the media, the reversal of the 50% benchmark policy by government took effect on the 15th of November 2021. The repeal of the policy is in view of an agreement reached on the issue following various fora discussions on the matter, coupled with an expected revenue increment. The GRA says the leaked document has not received policy approval for implementation. You're still watching the business segment of News Hour. Cocoa farmers in Ghana currently enjoy a living income differential of $400 per ton of cocoa. However, analysts are of the view that Ghana can rake in more revenue. A value addition to the brown gold is scaled up about 60%.
Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa, but only a handful of local businesses are playing active role in the cocoa value chain, which is worth $130 billion. Although cocoa farmers are gradually improving their living income through recent initiatives by Cocoa Board, captains of industry are certain that more can be achieved if government pushes for the creation of more local manufacturing and processing companies to upscale the current 40% value addition to cocoa. These issues dominated the maiden edition of the Ghana Cocoa Summit, with focus on jobs and investment opportunities.
This is a product that is not being relevant here in the continent. Everything from cocoa is being exported. So we have heard from Nish the effort they're doing to bring cocoa value here, to make people drinking, eating chocolate. But also we said that we need to look at the other products that are relevant for cocoa. So like using cocoa shells, bean shells, or using cocoa pod to create energy, fertilizer, that bring value. We need to do cosmetic. We need to promote the cosmetics that out of cocoa, because that's even better than shea butter.
Our cocoa price, or for the chocolates itself, is very high. One, because we buy the cocoa beans as if we are importing the cocoa product from outside. If we're able to work closely with Cocoa Board, we'll be able to bring the price of the input, which is the cocoa product, the cocoa butter, cocoa liquor, down. If we're able to do that, we'll be able to bring the price of chocolates down in the country.
The summit was themed exploring agribusiness opportunities in Ghana's cocoa value chain for job and wealth creation.
Over 450 enterprises, 51 staff trained, and an average of 4,500 workers have benefited from the Kaizen project since it was introduced in Ghana in 2018 by JICA.
We continue to inculcate the Kaizen principles and MSMEs around the country, even beyond the regions where the program was piloted. This current project, the Enterprise Development Project with Kaizen, is born out of the commitment of the partnership to strengthen and enhance business development services that we offer to MSMEs. For us at GEA, Kaizen is a tool that actually accelerates and grows businesses from small to medium and medium to large. So it is a tool that we take a lot of interest in building the capacity of our team to work with. Often hear concerns about the lack of support to MSMEs in helping them establish proper business structures to better manage funding and grants given to them. This project aims at not only enhancing GEA's capacity to provide BDS to MSMEs, but also to improve and build upon the quality of BDS support in the country.
Let's have the prices of some local commodities on the international market. And that's it for the business segment. You have more news coming up. Please do stay.